We begin with breaking news right now in Gwinnett County. Take a look at this brand new video we just got showing the moment law enforcement was able to take the Mall of Georgia stabbing suspect into custody. We're learning at least 18 people were shot across the city from Friday night until this morning, and that does include multiple children. Ron, we were just talking about this before the show. It's shocking to see that, and it seems like these issues are really just recurring across the city. We have a breaking update to a story we've been following for you from the very beginning. Former Clayton County Sheriff Victor Hill has learned his fate months after being found guilty on federal abuse charges. A judge has sentenced him to 18 months in prison. To what extent do you think Senator Kyrsten Sinema leaving the Democratic Party to become an independent might be a tactic to avoid a difficult primary battle in 2024? And then second to that, if it works, might this become a precedent for other candidates in the future? John, before we let you go, I want to ask you a question. Are you seeing any police on the ground? I'm hearing a chopper, not sure if that's a police or a news chopper, but I'm not really seeing much of a police presence behind you. Yeah, you probably saw it. You probably heard it. Take a look at this from our photojournalist, Stephen Boise. This is what it looked like in Midtown, actually just outside the 11 Alive studio. This was around lunchtime, and yes, folks, more rain could be rolling in tonight. We want to get straight on over to Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb. A lot of you might have missed it. Like myself, I woke up this morning and said, wait a minute, it snowed, but the snow did stay on the ground long enough for some of you to snap some photos and share them with us. One of the quickest ways to know if you have COVID are those rapid tests. If you're positive, a line appears on the test kit. If you've taken one, you know that. But some of you might have noticed that that line can be very bold or a little faint. So we wanted to know, does that really mean anything? The search for a young girl coming to a heartbreaking, devastating end. The girl has been killed along with her mother, and her grandmother is fighting to stay alive as we speak. The kidnapper, the girl's father, took his own life. Bulldog fans are invading South Florida, which is a pretty cool place to spend New Year's Eve. Figuratively cool. I think it's literally 80 degrees there today. One of the largest fan-run conventions in the world is officially coming to an end today. Dragon Con is one of Atlanta's biggest conventions, and this year they welcomed, get this, over 60,000 people. Woo! It is a jam-packed Labor Day weekend here in Atlanta with several big events going on, including Black Pride, where tens of thousands of people in the LGBTQ community are celebrating all weekend long. 11 Alive's Don White is live in downtown Atlanta at one of the many events they have planned. Don, what's it like out there now? This is just such a tragedy developing now. A grandmother is fighting for her life after a gunman shot her, killed her daughter and her one-year-old grandchild. You just can't imagine. Deputies are calling this a tragic case of domestic violence. Tonight, police are releasing new video hoping you can help identify these suspects. So let's pull it up, take a look. They'll be trained as mandatory reporters as well. So if they see any signs of abuse or neglect, they will have to report that to the principal and the state immediately. Harris was accused of intentionally leaving his 22-month-old son, Cooper, in a hot car to die. Harris says he simply forgot his son was in the car. Prosecutors argued that Harris wanted to leave his family, showing explicit messages that he sent to young women and girls. And Jack, I want to go back before we go to what you said about Georgians seemingly wanting to kind of distance themselves from Trump-affiliated candidates. As we start to look towards 2024, I think Republicans are probably facing some tough choices. I mean, how do they resolve this? The homeowner lives at the edge of some woods. She says she heard commotion at her back door in the middle of the night last weekend, and that, folks, is why I do not live in the middle of the woods. Thanks for joining us. First here at 5, the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party and another top party official have both been served with subpoenas from the Department of Justice as it investigates a fake elector scheme. Well, if you were outside today, I know you felt that heat, or if you were like me, you stayed inside in the AC. But we found out that some Atlanta fire stations are actually going without air conditioning right now. Can you imagine? I mean, that's concerning not only because the firefighters work out of those fire stations, but they also live and sleep there in between emergency calls. This is one of those stories that's just so senseless and so sad. The restaurant owner told 11 Alive that a customer killed her and shot another worker, apparently upset over how they'd made his sandwich. Brittany Klein-Peter's been out in that neighborhood all day, where residents tell her enough is enough when it comes to people being killed over such trivial issues in our city. One season, I know a lot of you Bulldogs are psyched. In the first year of the new contract, Georgia will pay Smart $10.25 million. Pretty penny, making him one of the highest paid college football coaches in the country. The contract also has yearly increases up to $12.25 million, making the total package worth over $112.5 million. And that's before bonuses. That amount is larger than any other coaching contract in college sports. He deserves it.
Yeah. Dog Nation is happy, and so is the coach.
We had an 11 Alive viewer write in wondering if members of that committee are collecting extra pay for that work. It's a good question, and Jerry Carnes verifies. Analysts recommend clearing old accounts that you have, or at least changing your passwords often. But how do you stay on top of all of it? Well, there are ways to keep your online accounts protected without all of that stress. So Georgia is in what's called the stroke belt. Our stroke rate is about 14% higher than the national average. You can see the death rate there in the dark purple. So many moms were pregnant and gave birth essentially in isolation, like you said. Others had to take on the virtual learning, basically become teachers, and they had to keep bored kids busy. Good luck. So many are turning to each other now for support. It is a scene that still hits home for so many here in Metro Atlanta. Officers attempting to arrest Rayshard Brooks in a Wendy's parking lot, and soon after, Brooks is shot dead. Today marks 2 years since that moment, and the site in Southwest Atlanta has become a focal point for reflection and for activism. Just hours ago, friends and community members held a vigil at that site. 11 Alive's Dawn White was there. She joins us live now in the studio. Dawn, when you were there, did you get the sense that there was a specific message or goal of that vigil today? Well, they are untraceable and high-powered. Ghost guns are untraceable firearms that can be bought online and assembled at home, and they are a growing problem here in the metro. But tonight, the Department of Justice says 3 people accused of trafficking them will face charges. It's really not going to be enough to secure the win for either candidate, which is why we're talking runoffs at this point. All right, so let's break down the counties. If we switch the map this way, you can kind of see how the different counties lean. The darker the color, the more votes for that candidate. Blake Chappelle was the kind of kid who was friends with everyone, a huge heart, no enemies, and that's one of the many reasons his murder has remained a mystery. But a bipartisan group of senators said they have agreed to crack down on improving school safety and implementing measures to ensure criminals and people with certain mental illnesses cannot purchase guns. That still falls a little short of the stricter rules President Biden and many Democrats are pushing for, but this is a big deal. The announcement includes the support of 10 Republicans, which would be enough to push that proposal through a Senate filibuster.
For a school to be held accountable after their son was attacked on campus and had bleach thrown on him.
This just makes your stomach churn. It's so horrible. They say Loganville High has done nothing to ensure he'll be safe this coming year, so now they're taking drastic action themselves and moving out of the district. Caitlin Ross has a story you'll only see on 11 Alive. Just into our newsroom tonight, a federal judge has granted former President Trump's request for a special master. So basically this means an attorney from outside the government will oversee the documents seized by the FBI last month at his Mar-a-Lago home.
Got some pipes, right?
I know. I'm getting chills listening to him. That is beautiful, making Georgia proud. And you know what? Win or lose, that is a talent right there. First here at 5, a manhunt is underway right now for a suspect accused of shooting and killing a correctional officer outside of the Gwinnett County Corrections Complex. Tonight, Gwinnett County Police are asking for anyone who lives near there or is maybe driving by between 4 and 7 this morning to contact them, hoping anyone has dash cam or surveillance video. Right now, a huge crowd has formed there, some celebrating the court's monumental decision today, overturning Roe v. Wade. Others furious over the move. The justices voting 5-4 in striking down Roe v. Wade, stripping away constitutional protection for abortions that have been in place for nearly 50 years. And this paves the way for states to impose outright bans on the procedure. That includes your favorite fall flavors. Are you a pumpkin spice guy?
Yeah, I like it a little bit.
Do you? Okay. All right. Surprising me there, Ron. Pumpkin spice lattes are officially back at Starbucks and Dunkin', but do you know what's actually in them?